Greetings and welcome to episode 25 of the Sustaining the Herd podcast, brought to you by Agri-Services and Engineering of Raymond, Nebraska. I'm Andrew Wadle, and I'm joined in the studio by my co-host, Brock Vitek, as well as Dr. Kevin Pond, the Dean of the Paul Engler College of Agricultural and Natural Sciences at West Texas A&M University. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, Andrew.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us, Dr. Pond. And in a moment, we're going to ask you to tell our listeners more about you. And in the meantime, just for our new viewers, welcome. For our long-standing viewers, because we're coming up on about a year of episodes now. So thanks for everybody who's returning. But for our new viewers, just our listeners, just to give you just a little bit about what Sustaining the Herd is all about. Well, at Agri-Services and Engineering, we see sustainability and innovation as being kind of like a three-legged stool. The one part is sustainability from the standpoint of manure handling, and how do we keep our air and our water clean, and how does society really coexist with animal agriculture? So everybody wants clean air and clean water and good, healthy food. And the second part, when it comes to sustainability, is efficiency. And how do we do more with less? How can we be more productive? That is really key to sustainability. And the last thing when it comes to sustainability is the last, but certainly not the least, is business sustainability. In order to be successful in agriculture, we have to have businesses that are sustainable, businesses that are profitable. And so the information that we offer here is hopefully kind of circles around all those three concepts. But without any further ado, again, welcome, Dr. Pond. And would you please just tell us about you?
Sure. Happy to. I'm originally born in Colorado, but grew up in upstate New York. So you're going to say, what the heck's an upstate New York person doing in West Texas? Well, I had a long and circuitous route to get there. I did my undergraduate at Cornell University. My father was a university professor in animal agriculture as well. Went from there to Texas A&M to study nutrition, primarily with beef cattle, and did lots of things for a master's and a PhD, tracing the fragmentation and flow of Bermuda grass hay through the gastrointestinal tract of cattle. Went from there to North Carolina State and was on the faculty there in a teaching and research position, and involved with research there and across the world, actually. Then moved to Texas Tech University as department head of animal science and served there for about 15 years. I've been at CSU, Colorado State University, as a department head of animal science as well. And then have been here at West Texas A&M serving as the dean of the College of Agriculture and Natural Sciences for the last 6 years. So long routes, different areas, and great involvement with sustainability worldwide, and with animal agriculture in particular.
With the research that you just mentioned, which of those things would you consider to be kind of like the centerpieces of sustainability?
I think partnering with others of different expertise was very, very important for everything I've done. Whether that be with sociologists and economists and animal breeders and so forth, to develop new technologies for developing countries, or whether that was forage scientists and agronomists working on forages for southeastern part of the United States and improving forage production and animal agriculture. Having a team effort to be involved with having a final outcome has been really, really important.
Yeah, it's interesting. No matter who our guest is, that whole idea of teamwork and team concepts, it comes up all the time. It is one of the most common threads that weaves through everything.
Agreed. Very, very important. In fact, whoever would have thought that I'd be working with a rural sociologist and an economist in Indonesia, looking at small farmers and what they did with their sheep grazing them under a plantation crop. And as a nutritionist, I'm pushed for efficiency, rapid rate of gain, and having real value in the animal, and then come to find out that the people only had the animals there to serve as a bank, and when they needed to make a purchase for tuition for school or books or whatever, they sold a sheep. They just wanted to keep it alive. They didn't care how fast it grew. So it really changes your outlook on what's really important to different areas.
Dr. Pond, I'd like to talk about your role today. Did you say you've been the dean at the college for 6 years now?
Yes, that's right. I came here from Colorado State, and WT is part of the A&M system. So it is quite a ways away from College Station, which has great advantages from being oftentimes forgotten, but also great advantages in that we have right in the heart of the cattle feeding industry. So that move has been a great spot to be in the area that I'm interested in. My wife also happens to be from the Panhandle of Texas, so we've moved back to where her ancestors homesteaded property just north of Amarillo, and that's now our property. So it's kind of nice to have a sixth generation of people using the same land for cattle production.
That's a piece of sustainability right there. Sustainability across several generations, for sure.
That is for sure.
I'd like to think there's probably no greater advocate or cheerleader for the WT Paul Engler College of Ag and Natural Sciences than you, Dr. Pond. So I would like to ask, what should the world know about the Paul Engler College of Agriculture and Natural Sciences at WT?
Well, its location right in the Panhandle, 25% of the cattle that are fed in the United States and consumed in the United States are within 150 miles of here. This is cattle feeding country. Paul Engler, who the college is named for, made his fortune with pioneering cattle feeding in the Panhandle. A Nebraska native, by the way, who made his way to Texas and was involved with really starting the industry here. His involvement created very strong programs with West Texas A&M and his companies. And when he was beginning to decide what his legacy would be, one of the things he wanted to do was to support West Texas A&M University, and he did so with a gift from his foundation of $1 million per year forever. And that's the minimum. So we're very fortunate that the College of Agriculture gets half of that gift each year. So we get $500,000 that can be used at the discretion of the dean to match things, to pay for things, to do whatever is needed to promote agriculture. And that has been a great incentive for us to do great things. The college has grown substantially during that time. We have a new agricultural complex that has a state-of-the-art meats laboratory, arena, a pavilion, all of our classrooms, all in one location. It is a beautiful spot that we were able to celebrate with Paul Engler's statue. Beautiful bronze, 7-foot tall bronze that is right out in front of the building, so that everybody that comes to the complex gets to know more about who Paul was and why it's important. But his legacy will continue forever at West Texas A&M.
That's great. I'd like to take a moment to pay a bit of a tribute to Paul. I too was very blessed during college at the University of Nebraska Lincoln to be someone who benefited from Paul's generosity. I was a member of the Engler Agribusiness Entrepreneurship Program, for which he gave $20 million to the University of Nebraska Foundation. And just, the way things can come full circle sometimes. I remember back in would have been fall of 2021, you, along with all of your colleagues on the Engler Foundation board, came up to Lincoln to see our new building that had just been completed on campus. And we all spent an afternoon together and went out to dinner together. And I remember receiving your business card. Never in a million years that I think would be sitting here today in 2025 on a podcast. So just a little tribute to Paul and all of the connections and great things that have come from his generosity, and just so great to be visiting with you once again here today, almost 4 years after that.
No, it's great. And as you know, agriculture, it's a pretty small world.
It
And
really is.
crisscross greatly. And we always enjoyed as a board coming up to Nebraska to go to a football game and have our board meeting there and see what Nebraska was doing with the Entrepreneurial Center. So congratulations for your involvement with that. And I do remember that time fondly.
Very good.
So, Dr. Pond, I mentioned what I was calling the three-legged stools of sustainability, and the third leg of the stool I mentioned was business sustainability, and our businesses need to be successful, and part of that involves training young people to enter our field. Even though our field is small, we still need to be feeding it with smart, energetic, creative people to continue to clothe and feed and the world, the United States and the world. So, as you're clearly in the business of educating people, and you have such a broad experience in cattle feeding and agriculture. Looking ahead, where are the areas? I mean, AI is really huge. Everybody's talking about it, right? And so, where are the areas that you feel AI will have a place? And then second part of the question is, where do you feel as though there's always going to take people? We're always going to be training people to do these jobs.
No, that's a great comment. And technology that has occurred in the last few years has modified how we do business. It is going to even modify it stronger in the next few years. And one of the things that we're doing here, we're building a new feedlot that is not only a feedlot for teaching and research, but it'll also be on the scale with large pens and so forth that will be involved with training of both personnel that already work in the feed yard to give them the new technologies, and then also attracting students to take that on as a career. We've given a lot of thought to what is important, and the technologies that we have with biosensors on animals, with video that we can do and analyze, and the use of AI to do what it used to take humans a long time to figure out, is really revolutionizing what we're going to be seeing in the cattle feeding area, as in everything. So certainly there will be some things that skilled people learn to do over time that can be learned quicker with AI, but there will still be the human part of it that is going to be extremely important in looking at the overall systems and how things are working. So we will never have a feedlot that does not have human involvement. There will be strict involvement with humans because they're the ones that can make decisions and see beyond the algorithm that the AI has come up with. So we're really looking forward to what the future has, what we can be teaching and learning along as we go. But we want to make something that's flexible, that can be the feed yard of the next 50 years, not just a good example of the modern feed yard today. What that's going to be, we'll have the platform to do it, and in 50 years, I guess we'll know. But we're really excited about taking that part to education for not only students, but also for students from other areas. Veterinarians in the feed yard industry are hard to get trained and hard to get them to stay where we'd like to have them. We'll be opening that up as we work with Texas A&M University. We have a 2+2 program right here at WT. So those students, along with students from the A&M itself, come here for internships and externships during the year. This will become part of the rotation that we'll be training those, and we hope to open that up to other programs across the country so they can come down to the heart of cattle feeding country and get that experience. So I think the future is great, and it is going to involve new technologies that we have only dreaming about now, but it's coming quicker than we ever expected.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so you mentioned biosensors, and we have a lot of people who listen to the podcast who we like to refer to as the people from town, and they oftentimes find curious that this agriculture is really highly evolved, a lot more than what the media would portray. And so when you talk about biosensors, just give us a feeling for what are we sensing?
Sure. So one of the problems that we have in any animal enterprise is we want to keep animals healthy. We want to know that they're eating. We want to know that they're doing the things that are normal for them. And with sensors, that could be either in the form of an ear tag that is applied to the ear like an earring. We have sensors in that can understand what is happening with head movement, what is happening with positioning in the pen, what is happening with their jaw in terms of whether they are eating or they're chewing their cud, which would be a normal thing for a normal animal to do. So we can sense those things with electronically that we never were able to do before. We've had pen riders that would go through on horseback to look at each animal and have a snapshot of, is that animal sick? Is it healthy? Is it going to be sick? We want to know when they're going to be sick, much like you'd be checking your children. You might use an infrared thermometer as they're going out the door just to check, well, what's their temperature. Those sensors can also be involved with monitoring temperatures of the animal. So there are many sensors like that, whether they're a necklace that they're wearing, whether it's something that's on their neck or something that's in their ear, and there are other ones coming around the corner that will be able to sense the individual animal and how it is feeling or how it is compared to normal. And then if they are abnormal, if they looks like they're getting sick, we can treat the animal that appears to be getting sick early to get them healthier quickly and not have to treat an entire pen, which would have been done in the past. We can treat individual animals, and if the individual animals are on a protocol that animals are only going to be ones that are not medicated will go into a food supply, then those animals can be identified and removed from the food supply for specialized areas. So those kind of technologies are here now. It's just a matter of implementing them and understanding how to use them in a pen that may have 70 to 100 animals. You can know what's happening to each one, and you might have, we're going to have 75 of those pens. So, sorry, we'll have 45 of those big pens. So we'll have an opportunity to train people on how to do that, make a more effective way of understanding the health of the animal and its treatment to have a healthier food supply for the American public.
I think it's really interesting. You've mentioned a couple of times large pens, and that really seems important to me from the standpoint of giving your students an opportunity to see scale. And it's something that seems like you can do with your project. And we want to learn more about the project. But, I compare that to like on dairy. It would be really difficult for someone to give someone a large milking parlor experience, because universities, they really just can't support a 100-stall rotary milking parlor, whereas it sounds like in this research facility, you're going to be building pens although maybe the total head count won't be comparable with the largest feed yards that are out there, but the pen sizes will be.
Yeah, and that's true. I think the other part that many universities do, and we do in particular at West Texas A&M University, is we have internships for students to go participate in those areas. And we're fortunate enough here in the Panhandle that not only do we have all the feedlots that we talked about earlier, but it is also now the third largest milk shed in the country. So the dairies have moved in here as well. So the climate is very good. We don't have much humidity. Cool nights. It could be hot during the day, but it does cool off. We have adequate supplies of water, good feed sources, so it works out very well for the animals. And so that's why the beef industry is here. bringing in most of its grain via rail, but the dairy industry is also here. And so the dairy industry is, it's great for us to have a field trip. We don't have to look at video. We can go see a rotary dairy and robotic dairies that are working in certain areas for that very easy with our students. And students who have that interest can do an internship as well. So what's happening in animal agriculture to improve the sustainability, the animal health, and the sustainability of economically is really, really amazing and important, and we need to study it fast and furious because technology is coming quicker than we're able to take advantage of it.
Indeed, indeed.
Dr. Pond, I know in some previous conversations you've said that industry involvement has been paramount so far in this feedlot project. How has the industry involvement shaped your project thus far, and how do you expect industry to continue to be involved after it's built once it's up and going?
Industry is a key. If you're just sitting in your office and figuring out from a textbook what's going on, you're 30 years behind. So you have to be engaged with industry, and we're very fortunate to have in the feeding industry. We have the Texas Cattle Feeders Association. Their membership would be in this region of Texas. The headquarters is in Amarillo. Many of the graduates of WT are actually in leadership positions there. So we work together on everything. When we were designing the feed yard, everyone has their own idea. So we brought the industry in face-to-face, but we also had Zoom calls 4 different times working with SETCI to plan our feedlot and going into the details of size of the pen, what it's going to be composed of, what are the feed bunks going to look like, where's the water going to be, how are we going to be able to make sure that we're not wasting water and we can conserve it. What the hospital is going to look like for those animals that are sick, what the processing area for animals when they first come in, what that's going to look like. All of those things have been part of a industry discussion that have been very, very helpful in formatting what we're going to be doing. One other important part is a university that has 4,500 head of cattle on feed. That would roughly be $15 million worth of cattle when they're ready to go to market. No university is going to take that risk. So we have to partner with industry, and we have industry partners who are willing to supply the cattle, maintain the ownership, and do all the risk management necessary to allow us to keep the feedlot full, but not have to worry about the market fluctuations and risk. So that partnership is absolutely essential in working with them. The other part is actually building the feed yard. The cost of this feed yard and education center associated with it is approaching $20 million. We did receive some federal funding for the education center, which helps. And then the other funding is going to come from the industry. And so we were looking forward to having many million-dollar partners and a few of larger in nature that will have some naming opportunities as well. So without the industry involvement and their buy-in to knowing that this is an important thing to do for the nation, it wouldn't happen. It's not just a university pipe dream. It is a partnership of the university and all universities with the industry to really come up with the answers for the future.
So I find it amazing that you're bringing these cattle feeders together who I'm sure they're friends, but they're also to be certain competitors. And so sounds like they've all come together to want to participate in helping you design this feed yard. And so it must be pretty clear then that they see that they're going to get value out of this as far as what you're researching.
That is correct. And I think it should be pointed out that we go across state lines in this support. So it's not just Texas, it's not just New Mexico and Oklahoma that are right next to us. It reaches out all the way across to Nebraska, to California, and elsewhere. And one of the worries we had, we also are concerned about having a university professor or professors run such a facility. And so one of the things we've done is we are hiring a person who is recently retired from the industry to come on and assume that role of oversight of everything, and also gives some instant credibility of someone who knows the industry and can be a good teacher and a good person to be heading up the program as we go forward. We had to go forward and talk to several companies to make sure that the individual that we were going to select passed muster. And you pick somebody from company A, and company C is going to go, well, they're going to be using all that information for their old company. Well, to my surprise and great satisfaction, every company has said, no, we want a person in there just as you've described, and we know that it'll be from different companies. That is fine. We have industry issues that we have to answer, that we can do better as a group than we can individually, and we're very excited to support whoever you bring on in that role, which I think is just great. And it shows that they are competitors, and they're fierce competitors. But when it comes to things such as food safety and animal handling and efficiencies and manure management and you name it, if it's a common good, they want to have full access to it, and they're going to support its development.
That's awesome.
That's some true industry buy-in right there. And along similar lines, I'd like to switch gears a bit. So I know that WT is not a land grant university, although you are affiliated with Texas A&M as part of the system. So not being a land grant, I know that WT does not officially have an extension arm. But putting that aside, how will you and your team at WT disseminate information and research findings that are coming out of this Research and Education Center for the industry's benefit?
No, it's a great question, and I should be clear. We do have joint appointments with A&M in extension for many areas. So we do work that direction. Also, our faculty members are challenged to be part of the industry, and so they work hand in hand with people. And the industry doesn't care whether you have an extension appointment; they just want the answer to whatever their question is, and so they have developed that interaction with people, so that's why they're calling WT, because they've had that long-term relationship. And that goes all the way through the MEETS program that we have. Those kind of questions come in, and it doesn't matter whether you have an extension appointment or not. And we work very closely with everyone on that. We're all about the industry and making the beef industry better for society, and the products that come out of the industry wholesome and so forth. And that takes a partnership across everyone.
It certainly does. Now, Dr. Pond, I know you've talked about a handful of things that you all are planning to research at this new facility. Are there any other items that haven't been mentioned that you're just really excited about to see researched at this new facility?
Well, I don't want to give away all the secrets, and you need to have me on for another show, so I'm not going to tell you everything.
Okay.
Right on. We'll do it.
That sounds good.
No, I think some of the other areas are just being determined. We have a real challenge in the feeding portion of the feed yard, where you're mixing the balanced rations for the individual pens. And there's some technologies available now. We're working with the main companies that do that, of doing a better job of being more accurate in what is delivered to the animal, and how that is going to be delivered. So we are working with companies on new technologies that will help the accuracy of what is being fed, and the delivery and accuracy of delivery to those areas as well. And so we're pretty excited about that. And again, once you get started, you find one thing and then you find another thing, and we're really anxious to get this built so that we can begin to test some of these ideas that we have.
And can you just give us a sense for when the build is going to be taking place?
Well, it's all dependent on funding. We unfortunately, our president and foundation didn't say, "Well, here's your blank check, and you just find the money when you can, and we'll build it for you." We are essentially raising the funds to build it, and so our expectation is that we will be having groundbreaking in the fall. We have quite a bit of things to do over the summer, but we now are in a position with all the background work done, with some of the information and knowing more about what it's going to cost for both the education component of it and the feedlot itself. That we have some accurate numbers that we can now share with industry, and we may have more industry partners than we initially anticipated, but that's great too.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So then, as you look further down the trail, and you're building this feed yard for teaching and education purposes and research purposes, it's to some degree it's the feed yard, hopefully the feed yard of today and the feed yard of the future, right? And so even looking out further ahead, under big, wild, audacious thoughts, what do you see the future looking like for cattle feeding? What's the feed yard of really far off look like?
Great question, and I think because of the size and scale, that probably will continue to be in rural areas. It'll probably continue to be where we have ample water and we have ample feed supply to be able to be housed. It needs to have the natural climate that is conducive to animal production. So it's going to limit it to certain areas of the central high plains and southern high plains of the U.S., where most of the cattle feeding probably will be coming. I would view that we would be having much better health management of our cattle. We will have much better control of cattle that come into the feed yard, knowing their background and what their genetic potential is. We'll feed them according to their genetic potential. We'll have different ending weights based on that. We'll be grouping cattle together in different ways than we have in the past, and have a more uniform set of animals going to be processed that will provide the meat and the cuts and so forth that the consumer's demanding. So I think we will become more and more and more uniform with more consistency in what we're feeding, efficiency of that feed, use of the manure that is produced by that, and what can be done with that. All of those things are going to be occurring. I think our feeding systems will become more and more automated, with supervision to make sure they're working properly. But we'll be bringing in feed, and with the technologies we have now, we can measure about anything we want to measure to make sure that what we're doing is appropriate for what we're trying to feed and for the particular animal that we're trying to feed it to. So I think there'll be huge changes, but we will be essentially becoming the three parts of your stool that you talked about. All of those are going to be improved.
Yeah, that's as you were mentioning each of those items, I was thinking sustainability, and so and that's awesome, and that's awesome to hear that the thought is continue to grow, but still continue not to grow unchecked, but to grow in sustainable matters, taking care of the land, taking care of cattle. Talking about feeding cattle, the actual process of preparing feed is a safety issue. That's a human issue. That's a sustainability matter, and so it's all fantastic.
Dr. Pond, this has been a really fun episode to sit down with you for a while today, and I think I speak for all of our listeners when I say that this is definitely one for the books. We really appreciate your time for this conversation.
You bet. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we're doing, and you're missing out on a lot of the stories of Paul Engler and how we ended up at the location we're at and so forth. Maybe that'll be something we can talk about at another time.
Certainly. And before we sign off, I think you've done a great job of it already, but I know you said that you're currently fundraising and raising support for your project. And as I think you know, many of our listeners are stakeholders in the beef cattle feeding industry throughout the Midwest. So I would like to invite you just briefly, if any of our listeners would like to learn more about your project and opportunities to be involved, how can they do that?
Well, certainly they can contact directly to West Texas A&M University and to the College of Agriculture and Natural Sciences. You can't forget Paul Engler's name, so Paul Engler College of Ag and Natural Sciences. You can contact me directly. My email address is simple. It's K for Kevin, Pond, Pond, at WTAMU for West Texas A&M University .edu. Would love to hear comments or thoughts, and I'll be happy to tell more opportunities that we have to be involved as a partner.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that, Dr. Pond. And with that, I want to say thank you to all of our listeners for joining us for another episode of Sustaining the Herd. And we look forward to being back with you again in a couple of weeks. Until then, thanks for joining the herd today.